In a previous video, we talked a little bit about term plans or contract length, right? We talked about how everything's moving to an as-a-service agreement, and you got to be a little bit more on your game when you're reading the contracts. I offered in that video to make sure that you didn't sign a long-term agreement. I think that takes too much power out of your hands. It gives too much to the provider. I would ask you to reel that in a little bit. Don't sign a 3-year. My coaching was to go for a 2-year. I think it's kind of the sweet spot between the consumer having all the power and the carrier having all the power. So hopefully you did that. Now, today what I want to do is dive a little bit deeper into a particular clause on that contract, which is called the auto-renewal clause. And the auto-renewal clause simply says that when I roll out of my 2-year agreement or 3-year agreement, this is what's going to happen. 5 or 10 years ago, it almost always auto-renewed for the length of the original agreement. So if you signed a 3-year agreement, you came on and it did another 3 years right after that at the same price and anyway, it wasn't very advantageous. And it, to my knowledge, doesn't stand up in court. I'm not an attorney, but I've heard of a lot of people that have beat that one in court. However, what a lot of carriers have done is said, hey, so now when you get done with that 2 or 3 year agreement, we're going to add 1 year on top of that. And I think you'll find that that's a fair compromise on their part, but you can do even better. I would ask you to press in on them and tell them to strike that clause of the auto renewal part of the agreement. Now, if they say it's got to stay in there, that's fine. Just turn it to month. And that simply says that, hey, listen, when we roll out of an agreement, it goes month to month, puts all the power in your hands, and you can decide what to do then. If you're stuck, if you've already signed an agreement a year or two ago and you haven't, and you didn't think that strike that clause or move it to month, you can still do it. Simply write the billing department, write customer service, or talk to your account representative that supports you and simply send them an email and say, hey, listen, my account number XYZ, I would like it to go month to month at the end of my 2 or 3 year term. Right? Now, they may counter, and it's a fair counter on their part to come back and say, listen, your rates are going to increase when you go month to month and jump out of a term plan. Don't shriek at that. Say, absolutely fine. Then reach out to somebody like myself or somebody else that's in the industry like me that can help coach you through getting additional options, price comparing, and deciding on what's the next best step for you. If you're happy with the carrier you've got, if they've done a great job, re-sign with them. Just negotiate the rate down. Nothing hard with that. When you renegotiate, knock it down to a 2-year agreement and be sure and strike the auto renewal clause once again. Thanks for joining me. Take care and God bless. We'll cover some more topics in weeks ahead.